was back in 2021. I was applying in a full throttle manner, but मेरी profile shortlist नहीं हो रही थी. I was a student, so I couldn't really figure out कि why is it happening. Reaching out to the professionals with your email and probably make a portfolio of your own on using any website or free domains that you get. So I have one on Wix site. It's free. जब domain की बात आती है, I again feel that Kaggle helps a lot because problem statements Kaggle पे of different competitions are from a variety of domains. So this is how you get comfortable with what are they trying to talk about.
इतने सारे कमेंट्स के बाद कि भैया नॉन टेक से टेक में कैसे जाएं, बीबीए एमबीए, हम बहुत सारी नॉन टेक जितनी फील्ड्स हैं उसे टेक में जॉब कैसे लेनी है, डेटा साइंस में जॉब कैसे लेनी है, डेटा एनालिटिक्स में जॉब कैसे लेनी है, सब कुछ इस वीडियो में क्रैक कर रहे होंगे हम. चलिए विदाउट एनी फर्दर ड्यू लेट्स गेट स्टार्टेड विद द इंट्रोडक्शन ऑफ तनीषा.
So I've started as a BCA grad, and post that my journey with the corporate began as an operations associate with Accenture, where I had a package of around 1.96 lakhs per annum. Soon after I started working, I felt that this is not really where I want to be. Of course, I want to pursue something in data science and analytics, and I don't want to do the kind of job that I was doing at that point of time. And that's when I started to upskill in this field. Then while I was upskilling, I also did an MBA, but unfortunately, since it was a tier 3, I did not get much opportunities from there as well. Like when I was pursuing my MBA, I realized कि भाई मेरी profile shortlist ही नहीं हो रही है. I was applying a lot. It was back in 2021. I was applying in a full throttle manner, but मेरी profile shortlist नहीं हो रही थी. I was a student, so I couldn't really figure out कि why is it happening. And then I realized that my profile is not very impressive कि वो HR screening round तक भी shortlist हो पाए. And that's when I decided कि चलो full time job offers को छोड़ के let's start pursuing internships, because it's a tad bit easier to get internships. So the first internship where I felt that I'm getting really good projects to work on was in Dun and Bradstreet, while I was about to end my MBA. So this is the internship that I got, and soon after, like I worked there as an intern for around 6 months, and then I converted that internship to a full-time role. So yeah, this is how I began my journey.
तो जब आप स्विच कर रहे थे, देखो आज की तारीख में जो सिचुएशन है ग्लोबली, रिसेशन, ले ऑफ्स, आपके पास पहली एक जॉब थी तो यू वर एट अ सेफर साइड, राइट? फिर आपने उस मोमेंट पर स्विच करने के लिए जब सोचा, व्हाट वाज योर थॉट प्रोसेस कि यार अगर यहाँ रिजाइन दे दिया और जॉब नहीं मिली, लाइक क्या चल रहा था आपके दिमाग में उस टाइम पर?
So the switch that I made was from American Express, and I was earning a good amount there. But I resigned because I wanted some time for my upskilling. And I feel, especially in data science and analytics, you need a lot of upskilling because there are new things coming each and every day. So I resigned during the recession period. I took a break and I tried to upskill. I did a lot of Kaggle and just wanted to, see ki, how would I rate myself in all of these skills. Because job mein kya hota hai, you probably don't, practice all the skills that are required to be an efficient data analyst or a data scientist in your day to day. And also, since I always wanted to do a remote job, so recession period mein kya hota tha, there were like hundreds or 200s of job openings on LinkedIn. And usme se there were like only 2 to 4 jobs which would be remote and which would provide the compensation that I was looking. So it was a very difficult journey for me to make a switch during this period.
गौरव, तो आपके केस में अपस्किलिंग बहुत बड़ा मैटर था, लेकिन यार क्या होता है ना, आप एक अच्छी जॉब कर रहे थे, यू हैड सम इमरजेंसी फंड विथ यू, बट इमरजेंसी फंड सबके पास नहीं होता. और जब ऐसी सिचुएशंस आती है जैसे हेल्थ इमरजेंसीज हो गई या फिर जॉब इमरजेंसीज हो गई जस्ट लाइक ले ऑफ, तब इमरजेंसी फंड बहुत ज्यादा इंपॉर्टेंट हो जाता है. लेकिन आज की तारीख में इंडिया में कोई भी इनकम प्रोटेक्शन प्लान नहीं है, बट थैंकफुली जॉबश्योरेंस हैज कम अप विद दिस इनकम प्रोटेक्शन प्लान, जिसमें अगर बिकॉज ऑफ सम अनफॉर्चुनेट सिचुएशन आपका ले ऑफ हो जाता है तो अगले नेक्स्ट 3 मंथ्स तक की सैलरी प्रोवाइड करते हैं जो आपको लास्ट जॉब में मिल रही थी. तो क्या होता है ना कि यार ईएमआईज, एफडीज या फिर जो फिक्स्ड एक्सपेंसेस होते हैं वो तो रहेंगे ही. आपकी जॉब चली गई तो क्या हुआ, तो वो तो आपको पे करने ही पड़ेंगे. तो वहां पर जॉब इंश्योरेंस आपको हेल्प करता है. इट बेसिकली एक्ट एज अ सेफ्टी नेट फॉर यू टू गेट बैक फ्रॉम दैट डिफिकल्ट सिचुएशन, और साथ ही साथ वो प्लेसमेंट असिस्टेंस भी प्रोवाइड करते हैं, क्योंकि ऐसी सिचुएशंस के अंदर डिमोटिवेशन बहुत आ जाता है किसी भी इंडिविजुअल के अंदर। एंड विद प्लान स्टार्टिंग फ्रॉम 999 रुपीज, जो कोई भी कर सकता है फॉर द बेटरमेंट ऑफ देयर ओन करियर, राइट?
Yeah.
बड़ी बड़ी कंट्रीज में, लाइक डेवलप्ड कंट्रीज के अंदर, यूके के अंदर गवर्नमेंट से प्रोवाइड करती है, बट इंडिया में आज की तारीख में ऐसा कुछ भी नहीं है। बट थैंकफुली जॉबसॉर्स हैज कम अप विद दिस। चेक द लिंक इन द डिस्क्रिप्शन, और अगर आप मेरा कूपन कोड यूज करते हो तो यू माइट गेट अ चांस टू विन Amazon वाउचर ऑफ 500 रुपीज ऑल्सो। और जितने टाइम में आपको हमने जॉब इंश्योरेंस के बारे में बताया, हमने तनिषा के लिए जॉब इंश्योरेंस का इनकम प्रोटेक्शन प्लान बाय भी कर लिया। इट इज दैट सिंपल। या सो तनिषा, आपने अपने एंड पे प्रिपेयर कैसे किया? बिकॉज प्रिपरेशन इज द मेजर स्ट्रगल आई फील फॉर यू, क्योंकि बीइंग फ्रॉम अ MBA बैकग्राउंड, from where you learned.
So before I even talk about this, I do have a YouTube channel where
Mm-hmm.
I've explained in detail as to how I've prepared, and मैंने एक एक skill set की एक dedicated video बनाई है. But just to mention that in a nutshell, SQL मैंने end to end सीखा था from Mode Analytics. So initially I was rushing through the learning the skills, right? But with time I realized that the official Python documentation is the best. In order to assess yourself in that particular skill, I feel that Project Euler is great, which will help you pass those coding round assessments, which are required for any company, right? Also for different Python libraries, मैं तो यही बोलूँगी कि official Python documentation best होता है, but अगर आपको अपने data science और analytical skills assess करनी है, वो पूरा जो workflow होता है from the time you get the data to the time when you see the results that are being generated by any algorithm, that entire workflow can be practiced on Kaggle. That's the best place because it gives a hell lot of good problem statements to work on. If you do not have any own pet project idea, I think Kaggle is the best platform where you can get real good problem statements covering all the concepts under this niche, be it regression, classification, time series, anything. So yeah.
Got it. तो जितने भी लोग देख रहे हैं, मैं तनीषा के वीडियोस एज वेल एज रिसोर्सेज जो हमने यूज करे थे वो डिस्क्रिप्शन में शेयर कर दूंगा। तनीषा, प्रिपरेशन भी हो गई हमारी, बट अब आता है अप्लाई करने की बात, ठीक है? तो आपने अपॉर्चुनिटीज में अप्लाई कैसे किया? कौन से प्लेटफॉर्म्स आपने यूज करे? स्ट्रैटेजीज क्या यूज करी?
Okay, so initially तो मैंने obviously सब कुछ use करती थी when I was applying for internships and all. But now being 3 years into this industry, my top two websites are, one is definitely LinkedIn. Guys, LinkedIn is the best place where you can get legitimate jobs. And LinkedIn के साथ I think AngelList, which is now renamed as I think Well-Found. This is a good platform क्योंकि इसमें you don't even have to see whether that particular startup is funded or not. AngelList में सारे funded startups ही list down होते हैं. I have had times where I've applied for a certain job role through Well-Found, and I've got like immediate responses with some assessment or with some take-home assignment. So it's a good place where you get feedback from the hiring manager or the HR. And coming back to LinkedIn, these strategies that I adopted was that especially during the recession period, right, there were a lot of companies which were hiring and कुछ मुझे feel होता था कि they're not legitimate. So what I used to do was, and what I still do now is, I make a list of the companies where I would want to work as a data scientist or a data analyst, and I reach out to the professionals out there. And when I say professionals, it's the data science or the analytical professionals and not the HRs. So, I sort of request them if they can refer me to that particular job role. And ek do bar I've also asked a few professionals as to what is being asked in the interview of such companies, right? And apart from this cold emailing, it requires a lot of time, but I think it's the best way for you to, something do apart from what you do the usual LinkedIn applying, because you need to get a few steps ahead of everyone else, because apply to sabhi karte hai, but reaching out to the professionals with your email and probably make a portfolio of your own on using any website or free domains that you get. So I have one on Wix site. It's free, and it has all of my GitHub projects and all of my important links. तो वो सब चीजें आप करते हो तो I feel that you get a few steps ahead of your peers while you're applying for any job role.
Correct. बिल्कुल बिल्कुल, ये तो मैं खुद बोलूंगा कि कुछ भी आप एक्स्ट्रा करते हो ना, छोटा सा भी, तो वो दिखता है और इट मेक्स यू स्टैंड आउट ऑफ द क्राउड। और जो आपका पोर्टफोलियो वो भी मैं जो भी डेटा साइंस के एंथुसियास्ट हैं, जो डेटा एनालिटिक्स के एंथुसियास्ट हैं, वो जाके देख सकते हैं, ताकि इधर उसे कॉपी कर लो या फिर उससे इंस्पिरेशन लेके देख लो कि भाई ये प्रोजेक्ट्स बनाए हुए हैं तो आप भी बना सकते हो। करेक्ट। तो तनीषा एक बात बताओ, जब आप सोच रहे थे क्रैक करने की दूसरी अपॉर्चुनिटी, व्हाट वाज द मोस्ट डिफिकल्ट पार्ट you faced?
So there were a couple of things. One was like I am from a tier three college, both graduation and post graduation. So I feel that even when I was a student, right, I did not have much awareness. Although I had good marks in my boards, 92% आए थे, पर कभी कभी आपको पता नहीं होता है कि आपको कौन से कॉलेजेस में अप्लाई करना है, और ये अवेयरनेस सब में नहीं होती है,
नहीं होती।
स्पेशली फॉर दी ग्रेजुएशन कॉलेजेस, राइट, to sort of look in that particular college whether that particular college offers placements in the first place or not. So this is one thing, which is awareness. Then number two is my profile, which was not getting shortlisted, which we've already spoken about. So doing a few extra things like making a profile on Kaggle, contributing. And the third thing which I faced in my case was that I've always wanted a remote job. So uh, चाहे रिसेशन पीरियड हो या ना हो, फाइंडिंग अ रिमोट जॉब और आउट ऑफ ऑल दी हाइब्रिड or the on-site jobs used to cut down on a lot of options, because there are companies which I know are similar to companies which I've previously worked with. Interviews भी similar होंगे and I can crack, but in the end वो hybrid है, and I've always wanted to stay in a remote village sort of a place and work remotely as a data
हाँ।
scientist. तो ये सबसे बड़ा hurdle था मेरे जॉब सर्च का।
तो जो आपकी करंट कंपनी है उसमें जब आपकी हायरिंग हुई तो उसका हायरिंग प्रोसेस क्या था?
So initially it was an HR screening round, and उसके बाद they had two technical rounds, जिसमें it was a very SQL, like heavily SQL based, जिसमें काफी वो लोग SQL पे focus कर रहे थे, and उसके बाद मेरा एक managerial round था. So before this I've already explained the entire workflow in one of my videos, but in a nutshell, इस last managerial round में there was a take home assignment where I had to do a certain sort of data analysis, draw insights, and prepare a deck out of it. So the entire workflow was observed as a data analyst. So I had around 4 rounds in the entire hiring process. And जब domain की बात आती है, I again feel that Kaggle helps a lot, because problem statements Kaggle पे of different competitions are from a variety of domains. So this is how you get comfortable with the data, the columns in the data. What are they trying to talk about? So yeah.
तो अगर मैं थोड़ा आपसे और डिटेल चाहूँ इसकी, कि जो राउंड्स थे आपके टेक्निकल राउंड्स, उनमें स्पेसिफिकली किन टॉपिक्स पे क्वेश्चन पूछे गए, किस टाइप के क्वेश्चन पूछे गए?
Mhm. Okay. So they were probably giving me some, case scenarios. So basically, वो कोई dummy data मेरे को देते थे, and it was a video round, both of these tech rounds. So they would give me a dummy data. They would tell me the problem statement. They would, tell me to come up with the SQL query. And also, I had the liberty to switch between SQL and Python for all of these queries. They were like, आपको जो भी programming language use करनी है आप कर सकते हो, but you need to come up with a solution which has covered that time space complexity and is can be run efficiently if you would be working as full time in that specific company. इसके
गॉट।
अलावा stats statistics heavily पूछे जाते हैं. So मेरी recent video में मैंने इसमें बताया है कि statistics are the sort of a base to any ML algorithm. Some people, jump on to LLMs directly, especially after ChatGPT. कि भाई जो भी न्यूज में चल रहा है हमें वही पढ़ना है, but they forget that stats एक basic है, and अगर आप statistics के questions अच्छे से answer कर पाते हो in that interview, that sort of builds up the rapport of you and the interviewer. So make sure that you can answer the easier questions first, even before going on to something which is much more intimidating and difficult.
Fair, fair. But and then if stats is involved, how about mathematics? How much maths is involved in interviews or in your day-to-day job?
So देखो, mathematics is mostly what we've already covered back in school.
Okay.
Mean, median, mode, and data distributions भी काफी basics भी built है. इसके
Correct.
अलावा, if anybody wants to be a data scientist, I would strongly tell them to be familiar with differentiation and integration, because ये सब चीजें helps you in being familiar with concepts like gradient descent. If anybody who has been studying data science would understand what I'm trying to say. So 12th तक का maths is more than sufficient for you. Matrices, ये सब चीजें basics होती है of any concept of data science. So this
गॉट
would
इट।
suffice.
एंड आपने बताया आपने लिंक्डइन को बहुत हेवीली यूज किया था, तो अगर मैं आपसे बोलूँ कि एक टेम्पलेट दो मुझे फॉर कोल्ड रीच आउट्स ऑन लिंक्डइन, व्हाट इट वुड
Right.
बी?
So the first tip which I usually get when somebody wants a referral from me is, hi so and so, and they don't say what they actually want. So I would just want to tell everybody that the person whom you're reaching out to must be very busy with his or her job, right? So jo bhi hai na, make sure that you include in that one message that hi so and so, and probably you can mention the subject of that message as an data scientist with so and so company, and you can tell the person why do you want to work there, what interests you, and you can talk a little bit about the domain around which that company works, and try to make it as crisp as possible. Probably take the assistance of chat gpt, try to limit it to 50 words. That's what I would recommend, and make sure that you attach your resume and your portfolio link in that very message. Don't send multiple messages to the person, because he tends to miss out on what you're trying to convey to him or her, right?
करेक्ट।
So I can add one, template in
स्निपेट।
the comments of this video. But
श्योर।
yeah, this is what I would present.
ओके, तो अगर कोई स्टूडेंट है जो कि स्टार्ट कर रहे हैं, मैं यहाँ पे नॉन टेक वालों की बात कर रहा हूँ, टेक वालों की भी बात कर रहा हूँ, वांट टू गेट इनटू डेटा
Mm-hmm.
साइंस, आप अगर हमें ब्रीफली
Mm-hmm.
रोड मैप बता दो कि भाई ये करो, ये फिर ये करो, प्रोजेक्ट्स बनाओ, एंड देन यू आर गुड टू गो फॉर अप्लाई।
So, firstly, I would strongly recommend कि don't take shortcuts. मैंने वो किया हुआ, and I feel that in the end you realize that you wasted a lot of time while taking shortcuts. So start with basics, and when I say basics, cover your statistics. I've already mentioned the important topics जो stats में आते हैं in my recent video. But statistics cover करना, statistics required for data analytics cover करना is the key. Then SQL के लिए I feel that the syllabus of SQL is very precise और concise. एक बार आपका SQL end to end खत्म हो जाता है ना, तो जो उससे questions बन के आते हैं they are very like limited. उसमें ज्यादा कुछ people can't layer up. So SQL is the key, and SQL में ज्यादा कुछ difficult नहीं है. जो सबसे ज्यादा लोग पूछते हैं sub queries और CTEs. So these are the questions, these are the concepts which would be utilized with each and every query that would be asked you in an interview. And for Python, I would, I've again made a video on this as well, but Python के लिए I can mention in the description of this video कि एक initial phase आता है getting started with Python on official Python documentation. So if you cover that end to end, right, and it's very precise, बहुत limited है वो section. If you cover that, then you can directly jump on to working with libraries. And when I say libraries, the main libraries with Python are Pandas, NumPy, Seaborn, Matplotlib. Two are for visualization, and the former two are for data manipulation. बस इतना ही is more than important. Many people say कि हमें Power BI, Tableau भी कर ले, ठीक है, that comes. But trust me, companies do give trainings for those once you are hired. What they see is whether the person is, familiar with the things that I've mentioned. So these three things are very important while you're constructing your roadmap to
गॉट
be an efficient data analyst.
इट, गॉट इट। तो ओके, फाइनल क्वेश्चन, if a student is preparing for data science job, what salary they can expect fresh out of college, या फिर वो स्विच भी कर रहे हैं, स्विच का हम रहने देते हैं, फ्रेश आउट ऑफ कॉलेज अगर कोई स्टूडेंट है डेटा साइंस जॉब इन अ गुड कंपनी इन इंडिया, वो कितना सैलरी एक्सपेक्ट कर सकते हैं?
So when I started as a data scientist, when I lacked out on a lot of skills that I've just mentioned, so my salary was somewhere between 5 to 6. But when I started upskilling, when I started doing a lot of open source contributions, so I'm sure you can earn somewhere around 15 to 20, right?
Which is like
So this is
200
what
to
I feel.
50%,
Yeah,
50%,
yeah,
right?
exactly. Because I could sort of to that reach to that level. I certainly aspire even more, but doing all of these things helps you, get there, and then probably you can take further leaps as well as you like.
थैंक्स अ लॉट तनीषा, बहुत अच्छा लगा आपसे बात करके, बहुत सारी अमेजिंग चीजें जानने को मिली होगी जो भी देख रहे हैं, और मजा आया है तो लाइक और सब्सक्राइब जरूर करना, और कोई क्वेश्चन रह गए हैं तो तनीषा को आप उनके सोशल हैंडल्स पे रीच आउट कर सकते हैं, द लिंक्स आर इन द डिस्क्रिप्शन। उनका यूट्यूब चैनल जहाँ पे बहुत सारे रिसोर्सेज हैं, उसके वीडियोस आपको डिस्क्रिप्शन में मिल जाएंगे। थैंक्स अ लॉट तनीषा, for your time
Thank
and all
you.
the best.